There are moments in history when a narrow strip of water shapes the fate of civilizations. The Strait of Hormuz is one such place. It looks small on a map, but if this waterway is continued to be disrupted, oil markets would continue to convulse. Global shipping will continue to stall, and inflation will continue to surge. Countries like India will face strategic pressure, but here is what concerns me. Most discussions on Hormuz are happening through military lenses. Very few are discussing what happens at sea, what happens to merchant shipping, what happens to energy logistics, what happens to maritime trade network, and this is a serious gap because wars are not only fought through missiles but also through supply chains, through sea lanes, through economic disruptions, and through choke points. And I say this not merely as an observer, but as someone who sailed as a merchant navy officer, who has stood watch on the bridge, who understands how fragile maritime system can become under. And today I want to ask, if Hormuz is disrupted, is India prepared? Most people do not realize global civilization floats nearly everything around you: energy, food, fertilizers, electronics, industrial raw materials moves by sea. Sea power is economic power. This was true for the Portuguese, for the British, for the Americans, and it remains true today. Who controls sea lanes influences history, and Hormuz is one of those decisive sea lanes. This is not just about oil. This is about the architecture of globalization. And when when architecture cracks, the system shakes. People think geography is passive. It is not. Geography creates powers, and choke points create leverage. This is why Hormuz matters. It allows asymmetric pressure. It allows disruption without total war. And in modern strategic competition, that matters enormously. Even uncertainty around Hormuz can move markets, as we have already seen that happening in the market. That is power. Without firing a shot, if we can do that, that is power. Now, let me take you from strategy rooms to a ship bridge, because that is where reality begins. Imagine entering a high threat corridor, military traffic around you, fast attack craft contacts, warning on navigational channels, insurance alerts from owners, security advisories, crew anxiety rising, and you still have to navigate safely, maintain a safe passage planning, avoid collision, maintain crew fatigue, protect crew and cargo. This is not theory, this is operational pressure. And the first people absorbing it are civilian mariners, not policymakers, not television expert, but seafarers. Here is where things get interesting. Sometimes conflict do not stop shipping. Insurance does. War risk premium can become a weaponized economic variable. Routes become commercially unviable. Owners hesitate, charterers dispute cost, cargo slows, and suddenly, without a formal blockade, trade trade is disrupted. That is why maritime economics is part of geopolitics, and many miss this completely. Now let us come to India. India sits at the center of Indian Ocean. This is a maritime civilization, but have we fully internalized maritime strategy and security? That is the question. Because if Hormuz faces disruption, India faces exposure. Energy, trade, inflation, strategic vulnerability, and I would argue this is precisely why India must think beyond continental security. Maritime security is not secondary, it is central, and perhaps this century India will have to rediscover that. And here is my larger point. Hormuz is not the story, it is the symptom. The real story is that global trade architecture is entering an era of stress. Suez disruptions, Red Sea attacks, supply chain weaponization, choke point vulnerability, energy insecurity. These are not isolated events. These are patterns, and patterns matter because patterns often precede structural shift. Now the difficult question. Is India prepared? Partially, yes, but sufficiently? That deserves debate. Do we need stronger maritime resilience? Yes. Do we need greater protection of commercial shipping? Yes. Do we need deeper energy contingency planning? Yes. Do we need to think like maritime power? Absolutely. But the future may reward those who understand oceans and punish those who underestimate them. The Strait of Hormuz may look like a narrow channel, but history often turns in narrow places. And if crisis comes, the issue will not only be whether navies respond, but whether nations are prepared, and whether the world understands that merchant shipping is not peripheral, it is foundational. I would like your views. Is India thinking seriously enough about maritime risk, or are we still underestimating the ocean? Comment below. Jai Hind and fair winds.